Let's go over how to access the Limits tab and what each section means. Step 1. Accessing the Limits tab. To get to the Limits tab, it's simple, just click on the player's ID. Once you're there, you'll see the various limits you can adjust. Step 2. Understanding the limits. 1. Credit limit. This is the amount the player can wager up to within a week. 2. Temp credit. Temporary credit that won't affect the permanent weekly limit. 3. Until, the date until which the temporary credit limit is active. 4. Settle, the agreed amount between you and the player for payouts or collections. Step 3. Restrictions. In addition to limits, you'll find the restrictions section. Straight early limit, how far in advance, hours or time, the player can place bets. Overnight limit, the seasonal limit for betting during nighttime hours. Max contest payout, the maximum amount you'll pay out for any contest. Max contest odds, the highest odds you want to display to the player. Min contest odds, the minimum odds difference you're willing to allow. And that's a quick rundown. Simple adjustments, but critical for managing your player effectively. Now we're getting into the more complex part. It's not difficult, but there are a few details to go over. Let's take it step by step. General limits. First, the basics. Min, the minimum amount the client can bet, depending on the type of bet. Max, the maximum amount the client can bet, depending on the bet limit. Now comes something called factor and per game, which require a little more explanation. Factor. The factor determines how many times the client can place the maximum bet on the same line. Here's an example. Let's say the factor is 2, and the maximum bet is $500. If the client tries to bet 3 times at $500 using the same line, for example, Lakers minus 3.5, they won't be able to, because the factor is set to 2. This feature is particularly useful for parlays, where you don't want the client repeatedly using the same line. With a factor of 2, they can only use Lakers minus 3.5 twice in their parlay. Per game. To control betting even further, you have the per game limit. This sets an overall limit for a game, across all types of bets, full game, halves, quarters, etc. For example, if the per game limit is $1,000 and the client bets $500 on the game and $500 on the first half, they can't place any more bets on that game, even if they want to bet on other parts of the game like quarters. Using these controls, you can manage how much and how often a client can bet on the same game or line, ensuring you have more oversight on their betting behavior.